Hello and welcome to a tutorial on Blender, the basics. So we're going to start with the interface. So what I'm going to do first, set this global, and I'm going to learn about orbiting first. So orbiting is when you hold the middle mouse down and you click and drag across the screen. Now you can panning is another thing. So you can pan, go up and down with panning by holding shift and scrolling, or control and scrolling to go side to side. Zooming is just scroll backwards and forwards. And then we have shift B, which allows you to zoom up on stuff quickly and get a closer look at something. This also changes where you orbit. So I can now orbit around that cube again. Go this, orbit around that. Just go to the cube again. And selecting objects is very different in Blender to most other programs. So you have to right click the objects. So just right clicking in this view area, this viewport. It's a 3D view. Now we have a few different things here. So we got your tools on the side, and you can do a whole heap of stuff with this. And that's just a long way for some shortcuts. And here we have our timeline. We have our properties. We have our list of objects in the scene. And we have our quick editing of location, rotation, and scale. And then the dimensions of the object as well. So that was a very basic overview of what is in here, because there is also nodes, a node editor, graph editor, all this stuff, properties, outliner, user preferences, all that sort of stuff. Okay, so I'm going to tell you how you can hide objects in different ways. So the first way is just obvious, just hiding it from the view. It's clicking on the eye. If it's closed, you can't see it. That one's there. I'm clicking on the lamp. So you just make stuff disappear. You can also make stuff not able to click. So I can't click on that object anymore. I can click on all these. So that means that I can't move it, I can't select it. I can select it in here. You can click on it in here, but it won't select in here. And then you can also hide it from the render, which is the camera. So that means when you render the image, you do your final render, if you're making an animation or a image, it will be left out. But all the stuff that it does to other objects are left in. So it's cool if you want something to happen. And now we're going to talk about local space, global space, and view space. So global space is basically everything's up, no matter how the object is orientated. Everything is up. I'm rotating these objects by pressing R, and then just going around. With this, you can also press X to only do it on the X-axis, Y, Z as well. This also applies for scale. Scale is S. Now hit escape if you don't want to do anything. So escape is to cancel. So if I just suddenly start scaling this, just go like that and I hit escape, everything goes back to normal from before I did that. You also have moving objects around. So that's G. And you can go GX and everything like the same as before. Okay, back to this. So we have local space. So this object is the same orientation as it was before. This one is slightly different. A lot different. Z is now that way. This one is that way, and that way. So that's a local space. So you can move it along that line. Now with the rotation and that, use Z, it will always go that one first. If you tap it again, it will go local space. If you go Shift Z, it will rotate on everything but the Z axis. This mainly is useful for scaling. So you scale on everything but the Z axis. And then the same, you can just keep on pressing it to toggle to local, global, and nothing. And we also have view space, which is basically your view. So whatever your view is, it will follow, so it doesn't change. Except if you have perspective on. Perspective is a toggle for 5 on your number pad. If you don't have a number pad, this will not work. So perspective is turned off now. Turn perspective on, like that. The other number pad things are 7, which is just top view, 1 front view, 3 side view, and then use the arrows to move around like so. And we have also got Blender Render, which is an earlier version of Cycles Render. And they do things slightly different ways. And Blender Game, that's a game engine they use to you can use to create games. You use Python to program the games, and it's fairly simple. Just have a play around with all this stuff. And also another thing is user preferences. So user preferences, really cool. So you go in here, you go into themes, and you can change all your colors, all the different things, like that. And then you got your file. This is where you put your fonts, files in, and sounds and everything. You got your system. Now, what's important here, as I like to mention, is if you're finding that the text is hard to read because it's either too small or you haven't got enough room to work because the text is too big, you can change this number here and either makes the letters bigger or smaller. So it makes the text bigger or smaller, depending on your screen. And then we got add-ons. These are okay. I don't use a lot of them yet. I'm going to look into them. But that's it for preferences. And that is it for the basic interface. Basically, the main thing you need to remember is right-clicking to select everything, and normal click just moves the 3D cursor. And those shortcuts about scaling and rotation and moving stuff. Okay, that's it. Hello, this is the second part of the tutorial. This is the second part to the tutorial. We're going to look over some basic modelings. I'm going to teach you some things to make a castle rook, something like this, but without the holes and the smooth beveling. I'm going to do that in part 3. So just going to delete this, and we're gonna center everything again. That was Control C to reset the view in the 3D cursor. So we're just gonna add a cube. That was Control A. Shift A. That was it. Shift A. So we're gonna bring that up and hit Tab to go into edit mode, or you can do it down here. And we're just gonna pull this down like that. We're gonna hit E so we can extrude it, make a new face off that face. And we're gonna scale that. So we're gonna scale it down a bit, like that. Then we're gonna extrude it up. And then we're gonna scale it down a bit more, pressing S. And then extruding it up again. And scaling it outwards a bit this time. And extruding up a little bit more. Now what we're gonna do now is we're gonna subdivide it. Subdivide. This was here before. Here it was. There it is. I lost it for a second. Okay, so now we've subdivided that face. Subdivided that face. So I'm going to turn X-ray off. So you can select different faces by holding Shift, or from the last one you selected, you can go Control and then select the shortest path to faces. I hit F, and then that will become one face. I'm going to extrude that down. Actually, no, we're not. I'm just going to group these ones first. So, carry all these into faces. All the three ones in the corner. Now we're going to grab each one of the ones that just created into their own different faces. And we're going to extrude them up. And we're not. Because we're going to go into... We're going to select these. We're going to make them one face. We're going to dissolve all these ones here, because it's going to create a mess later if we don't. I have a feeling that's why my other one did before didn't work properly. Deselect the ones in the corners. Hit X. I'm going to dissolve the vertices. Just going to dissolve these ones as well. So now, if you go Shift, Control Tab, and select Faces, now we can select each of these and extrude them up and extrude this down, and we have a cool looking castle piece. Just cleaning it up. Okay, so that is basically it for that. Okay, now I'm just gonna see you in part 3.